Good morning, grade 6. I hope that everyone's having an awesome week so far, and let's get started with today's video. So, just to recap, yesterday we went over what an idiom is. So, we know that the idiom is commonly accepted way of saying things, right? So, it can have a figurative or indirect meaning, right? And our examples we looked at was it's raining cats and dogs, or your guess is as good as mine, and also we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So that was some examples that we looked at yesterday. So today we will be doing a fable. So what is a fable? So it is a short story, typically with animals as characters, conveying a moral lesson at the end. So fables tells us fictional tales, and fictional tales we know are stories that are not really true, but they are fiction. And then fables often use animals as main characters and personify the animal characters, right? So we know that when you personify something, we're giving them a human characteristic, right? So we're giving animals human characteristics like talking. Okay. So I would like everybody to please open up the textbooks on page 98. So it reads, some fables, like this one, uses idioms as their model. Read the story once to familiarize yourself. Read it again, paying attention to the three parts of the story. So here we have a fable. It's called The Milkmaid and Her Pail. So I will read through the story and then we will discuss it afterwards. So it says, a milkmaid balanced a full bucket of milk on her head. As she walked home, she dreamed of all the money she would make from the milk. I will make butter, she thought, and with the money I get from the butter, I will buy some hens. Soon I will have a lot of chickens. I will sell eggs with the money and make it from them. I will buy a new dress. She imagined herself being admired by all the young men at the fair. She imagined herself tossing her head proudly. She was so caught up in a dream that she tossed her head, and the bucket of milk wobbled and crashed to the ground. All the milk was spilled, soaked into the ground and disappeared. And so did all her dreams of chickens and eggs and a new dress. So the moral of the story, don't count your chickens before they hatch. So this idiom means that we shouldn't expect things to go a certain way or happen a certain way until they actually do. So like in the story, you can see that they use the idiom as a model to show how this young girl, she dreamed and she imagined herself buying all these things using this milk, and then eventually she actually dropped the milk, and then all of that that she imagined is not going to happen. So let's look at the three parts of the story. So we all know that a story usually has a beginning, a middle, and an ending, right? So let's go more into depth about this. So in the beginning of a story, this is where the characters are introduced. So usually in the beginning when a story starts, they tell us who is in the story, which characters are in the story. They tell us their names and sometimes give us a background of what kind of character they are. Then we have the middle. So this is when the action starts to build and things start to go wrong. So all the stories must have some kind of conflict, right? And usually this conflict leads to the big event of the story, which is called the climax. So as we start reading our story, after we had the introduction and the beginning of the story, we then begin to hear what the story is actually about. There's usually some kind of conflict that happens in the story, and this conflict leads to a big event that happens, right? So in this story, the big event that happened was when she dropped the bucket of milk on the ground. And then lastly, we have the ending. So the mess of the climax gets sorted out and the story gets resolved. In fables, this is where the character learns the moral of the story. So usually at the end of a story, we resolve whatever conflict happened in the middle of the story, and that is when the character learns the moral or the lesson of the story. Okay, so now I have a short video of another fable called The Lion and the Mouse. So I would like you to please just listen carefully to the video and then we will discuss it afterwards.
The Lion and the Mouse, an Aesop's fable with a focus on vocabulary. One day, a mighty lion, tired from hunting all morning, lay down to take a nap under a large, shady tree. Some mice that lived at the foot of the tree scrambled over the sleeping lion to return to their home. But just as the last mouse was crawling over him, the lion woke up. The lion laid his big paw on the little mouse, trapping him. The mouse was very afraid. He apologized to the lion for disturbing him and begged him to spare his life and let him go. The lion pitied the little mouse, so he lifted his paw and set the mouse free. Sometime later, the lion was walking near the mouse's home. The lion accidentally stepped on a trap set by a hunter, and a net made of thick ropes captured the lion and pulled him up into a tree. The lion struggled to free himself, but could not. His angry roars rumbled through the forest as he became upset and afraid. The mouse heard the lion's cries. Remembering the lion's kindness, the mouse ran to the tree and climbed up to the trap. He used his sharp little mouse teeth to gnaw through the thick ropes and set the lion free. The lion and the mouse were friends forever after. Both of them had learned that it is good to help someone who has helped you. Moral of the story: good deeds are rewarded. The end.
So that was the fable about the lion and the mouse. So I hope you listened carefully, because for homework you'll need to answer these questions in your workbook about the story. So like I said, you have to listen to the video carefully. And now you need to find the following. So here are 4 questions that you will need to answer for homework. So you need to find out in the beginning who are the characters. So please list all the characters that were in the story. Then the middle, you need to write down what action or conflict happens in the story and what is the climax, right? Then third, you need to write down the ending. So how is the mess of the climax resolved in the story, right? So how is the conflict resolved at the end of the story? And then the last question, you need to write down what is the moral of the story. So the idiom. So like in our story of the milkmaid and a pail, the moral was don't count your chickens before they hatch. So now I need you to find out the moral lesson of this story of the lion and the mouse. Okay, so for homework, please write the heading, date and page number, then draw a line. Also, first, before you answer the question, please copy the slides with definitions, right? So wherever you see copy slide, please copy that into your book. Then after you copy the slides, then complete the questions about the lion and the mouse on the previous slide. So question 1 to 4. So you complete those questions after you watch the video. So this activity must be completed in your English workbook, and your homework is due for the 30th of April. So I hope you enjoyed the stories, and enjoy your homework. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.